safe professional football, which paid Commissioner Roger Goodell nearly $30 million in compensation in 2011, doesn't quite need a tax break. And there are a few senators, including Oklahoma's Tom Coburn and Maine's Angus King, who have a bill to strip the NFL and other professional sports organizations with annual revenues of more than $10 million from that tax-exempt 501c6 status. Now, according to the Joint Committee on Taxation, the legislation would generate $109 million more in tax revenue over 10 years. It would also apply to the NHL, PGA, and LPGA, all who currently are protected as trade organizations. Well, Maine's independent senator, who caucuses with the Democrats, Angus King, joins me now. Senator King, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Chuck. I'm sure Americans have all thought of the Girl Scouts and the Red Cross and the NFL all in the same kind of nonprofit group, right?
Well, let's talk about...
Come on.
Well, we know some laws were made at a time when... in many ways, sports leagues weren't so profitable, and they were more of a seen as a, sort of a pick-me-up for community, almost a way to try to help a community a little bit, either come together or profit. It's a different game today. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge business. And by the way, our bill it has nothing to do with the teams themselves. They are profit-making entities. They have to pay taxes. But the league office takes in $180 million a year and is a tax-exempt organization. It just doesn't make sense. And interestingly, Major League Baseball and the NBA basically have said, we don't want this. We don't need this, and we're not going to do it. So, I may be the only guy in America who has to go to an NFL game under the Witness Protection Program, but Tom Coburn and I think this is just ridiculous.
Well, it's interesting. The NFL has responded to your legislation, and here's their defense. They say this: every dollar of income that is earned in the National Football League from game tickets, television rights fees, jersey sales, and national sponsorships is subject to tax. There's only one small part of the NFL, they say, that is unrelated to all the business activity that is tax exempt, and that is the NFL league office. And they say that makes them just like other trade associations in support of other companies and other lines of businesses. I guess my question is this, why shouldn't there be sort of a small nonprofit portion of this for the league as a trade association, Senator King, again, the way there are the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, for instance?
Well, I think let's again be clear about what this covers and what it doesn't. The NFL has a foundation that does charitable work. That's tax exempt. Nobody's questioning that. We're talking about the league office, which, by the way, pays the boss $29 million a year. How many nonprofits do you know that pay their executive director $29 million a year? I mean, different than a broad association of groups of people, the National Skiing Association or something, that represented a whole sport. This is a brand, and I think that's what really what the difference is.
So what kind of this bill, you introduced it, what kind of support does it actually have in the U.S. Senate? A lot of times, look, I note that this bill is being sponsored by two guys who do not have NFL franchises in their states. Is there going to be a divide that we're going to see from states with football and states without the NFL?
Well, I don't know. That'll be kind of an interesting question. But, if you have King and Coburn, that's a lot of muscle right there. We just sent a Dear Colleague letter out day before yesterday, and so we don't really know what kind of support we're going to get. But, the other piece, as you suggested, one of the problems with these tax exemptions and loopholes is once they get into the law, they're there forever. They're sleeping there. Nobody notices. They never have to be reauthorized. And I think one of the important things about this bill is to kind of pull the corner of the tent up and begin the process of looking at this whole, what we call tax expenditure. Tom Coburn suggests we ought to sunset the whole tax code and rebuild it from the beginning up, so the lobbyists have to argue to put something in rather than keep from getting something taken out.
Well, let me ask you about another protection that professional sports have, and that is the antitrust exemption. Where are you on this? It's something that basically allows for the leagues to be monopolies. And obviously, you could make an argument, there's plenty of other industries that would love to have the negotiating power and the monopolistic aspect that the NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA has, say, in negotiating TV rights and things like that. Other industries don't enjoy those same protections. Where are you in the antitrust exemptions?
Well, I haven't really looked closely at that, and there's a lot of history there. And at the time it was granted, it was considered necessary in order to allow the leagues to work. There, and you know, one of the problems with that over the years is that the players were at a disadvantage. They really didn't have anywhere else to go in terms of the monopoly employment. Now there's the NFL Players Association and Major League Baseball Union. They've been able to level that playing field. I think it's something that we need to look at and think about. But I think this tax exemption is the place that we really ought to be looking now. It just doesn't make sense to most Americans. It's the kind of thing that makes us look kind of silly, I think.
Well, you do bring up a good point that the NFL does not represent all of football, not Pop Warner, not high school, not college. And so, therefore, not really the same definition of an actual trade association. Anyway, Senator Angus King, thanks for coming on this topic. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chuck. Good to see you.
All right. Up next, the other issue that football's dealing with.